Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Planetarium show. My name is Jessica. Sorry, for some reason it looked like my audio wasn't going through, but I was looking at Braden's, who isn't talking yet.
Hello.
I'm Jessica. I'm the Planetarium director. I already spoiled it, but with me tonight is one of our students, Braden. I'll still let him say hi again.
Hi, I'm Braden. I'm a music education student here at UMD.
So tonight is our monthly constellation show where we'll take a look at the constellations you can find up this month and some of the stories behind them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. There we go. So for anyone who might be new here tonight, hi, hello. For our constellation shows, we use this really awesome program called Stellarium. It's actually free. You can download it yourself, but it acts like a little planetarium on your computer. You put in your date, time, and location, and it shows you what the sky looks like. So I currently have it set up for here in Duluth, Minnesota, since that's where our planetarium is located. At our current time, which you can see right there, 7:02. Of course, we are pretty northern latitudes, getting close to the winter solstice, so the sun set a couple hours ago for us. So we are good in the dark by now. And as I've just been kind of taking a scroll around the sky, you'll see um, the moon and Mars up over in the east, Jupiter and Saturn over in the south and southwest. Jupiter is pretty easy to find in the sky because it is a lot brighter than all of the stars around it. So if you head out this evening, say like after the show, and you go and you look south and you see one really, really bright looking star, it's not a star. That's the planet Jupiter. I know we got a question already about the occultation of Mars. Braden, did you get that date?
Yes, it is tonight.
It is tonight? Okay.
Yes, it is. It'll be at around 8 p.m. tonight. So we will not be able to. I was saying that we will not showcase it on the broadcast tonight, but it is at 8.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, an occultation is when one object moves behind another. In this case, Mars is going to move behind the moon at about 8 o'clock tonight. Which, you know what, I can go ahead and just, ooh, hold on, pause. Let me let me focus in on Mars here. And we can watch this happen. And there it goes. So that's
A little
about
bit later than
9:30
9:30, I guess.
for us here.
I guess the website I went on was wrong.
Well, it might have been Eastern.
Yeah, no, well, it said 9 p.m. Eastern, so it's still wrong.
Oh, maybe that's when it starts. I don't know. But there you go. So that's what's going to happen tonight. So if you want to go out and catch that, Mars is going to be passing behind the moon tonight, which is it's a pretty cool thing. It's a pretty cool thing. And that shows you something else you can do with this program. Eclipses, occultations like this, you'll be able to see kind of what it looks like from where you are located. All right, let me clear that out. I'm going to jump us back to our current time so we can get back to seeing what the sky looks like right now. And for anyone who is not in northern Minnesota or near where we are, as long as you're in the northern hemisphere, this is going to look pretty similar to your sky. You really will start seeing differences the closer you get to the equator. And of course, if you're below the equator in the southern hemisphere, you're going to have a completely different looking sky than we have. But that's another benefit to trying this out for yourself so you can see exactly what your sky would look like. All right, I'm going to get started with some constellations. We're going to start here in the north with this group of 7 stars here that is sitting pretty low on our northern horizon. Um, the, hold on, it'll get okay, sorry, pretty low on our northern horizon. And so this is the Big Dipper here with the handle and the cup. Now, the Big Dipper itself is part of the constellation of Ursa Major. It's a Greek constellation. And for that, we actually add in some other stars to make the rest of the Big Bear, Ursa Major. The handle of the Dipper is the tail of the bear. And then the body or the bowl of the Dipper is part of the body. But you can see here we're going to go over to connect kind of his head and his nose, down his chest, and then we have front legs and back legs. And that is our big bear in the sky. Now, as you might know, since we have a Big Dipper and a Big Bear, we also have a Little Dipper and a Little Bear. And the best way to find that is to actually use the Big Dipper to help you. So you are going to find the Big Dipper, take the front two stars in the cup of the Big Dipper. Those are our pointer stars, because if we connect them in a line, they point us to this star. This is the star Polaris, or the North Star, and it sits at the end of the handle of the Little Dipper. And so we have the handle and the cup, and that is our Little Dipper. The Little Dipper is in entirety the little bear. There's no extra stars here. Again, the handle of the dipper is the tail of the bear, but then the bowl of the Little Dipper is the entirety of the bear's body. So we have back legs, back, front legs. And those are our two Greek bears in the sky. Now, backtrack a second. Most constellations that most people know are Greek constellations. Part of the reason for that is they were just really well preserved and shared and were adopted by a lot of cultures around the world. And so they are one of the most well-known sets of constellations. However, the Greeks were not the only ones to make pictures out of the stars in the sky and use them to tell stories. In fact, every culture from around the world has their own set of constellations. And now that we have snow on the ground here in Minnesota, I can share a little bit of another culture's constellation, and that is the Ojibwe, who are indigenous to this region. It is very important that we, respect their traditions. We cannot share these until there is snow on the ground, or as long as there is snow on the ground. But now that that's there, I can share with you a little bit. So they also see a couple of animals here, where the Greeks saw the big and little bear. Let me clear these out and show you one other cool thing that Stellarium can do. It can show you different cultures' constellations. So for the Ojibwe here, instead of seeing a big bear like the Greeks did, they saw a fisher. And so we have his long tail, his body. The biggest difference between the Greek bear and the Ojibwe fisher is the legs. You can see the fisher's legs are a bit shorter than the bear's. But other than that, you have a lot of the same stars create the Ojibwe fisher. Now, he's up in the sky as a kind of a thank you, because he ended up kind of sacrificing himself to help the people. They noticed that winter was lasting an extra long time, and he was helpful in fixing that problem, but in doing so, he ended up losing his life. So he was placed up in the stars as a thank you. And then what the Greeks saw as the little bear, you can see the Ojibwe do not see as a little fisher. Instead, they see as a bird, specifically a loon, which of course is very common to Minnesota. I think it's the Minnesota state bird, although I have yet to actually hear or see one for myself.
It is the state bird.
I remember, weren't y'all like really surprised by this when I mentioned this over the Dark Sky Caravan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't think I've heard one.
They're you see them. They're around.
I mean, it's probably one of those I don't know it, so I don't notice that I've seen it or heard it. I don't know. It's a goal of mine. I will do this one day. Um, but you can see that the curve of the handle of the Little Dipper is the curved back of the loon. And yeah, those are just a couple of the Ojibwe stories. Now, I, of course, am not Ojibwe, so I don't want to share too much. I have been taught a lot of this information by Jim Rock, who is our Director of Indigenous Programming. He is Dakota, but he also has close connections with the Ojibwe and has learned and taught us a lot. And yeah, it's always really great to kind of see how connected the skies are, right? There's so many different ways of seeing and looking at the night sky, that it's not just the Greeks up there. All right, I'm going to turn us over to the east, because we are finally starting to see some of our winter constellations up in the east. Um, We are, what, a couple weeks, 2 weeks away from the start of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere. The winter solstice is on December 21st, which is the official start of winter. Although I think we have an honorary start since, it snowed like 5 inches yesterday. So I think we can go ahead and start talking about winter constellations. Um, to do that, I am going to fast forward time just a little bit because there's one that I want to make sure is up above the horizon. There we go. So I fast forwarded to just a little bit later. So we're looking at about 8 o'clock tonight. And over in the east, rising above the horizon at about 8 o'clock, is my favorite constellation and one of the most well known of the winter constellations, and that is, of course, Orion the Hunter. We have his 3 stars in a row here, which is his belt, and then the 4 stars around. We have his shoulders and his knees, and then hanging off his belt is his sword. And then we've got either a shield and a club, or a bow and some arrows. And that is Orion the Hunter. Now, the star that I circled here, you can see its name there. It's Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. There's a couple of different ways you can pronounce it. That is Arabic. In fact, the bright stars in the sky, most of their names are Arabic, because they were the first people to really give names to the stars. This was after they had adopted a lot of the Greek constellations. So a lot of the names are actually descriptive of where the stars are in the constellation. So, for example, Betelgeuse here, when you translate it, it means the armpit of the hunter, because, well, that's where the star is. It's in Orion's armpit. Now, you may notice a nice yellowish orangish tint to the star. And if I zoom on in, you can really notice that nice kind of reddish color to it. That is real, and you can actually see that in the star. It's red because it's a red supergiant. That is a star that is at the end of its life. And for stars this big, when they die, they do so in a giant explosion called a supernova. Now that sounds scary, but we are perfectly safe. We are not in any danger for when Betelgeuse goes supernova. However, we are close enough that when it does, it's going to be extremely bright. It will be bright enough to be seen in the daytime sky. Now, we don't know when this is going to happen. Soon, but astronomically soon. Could be tomorrow, could be a couple thousand years from now. We just don't know. So I'm hoping it happens in my lifetime because I would love to see that. That just seems so cool. The other thing that I want to point out here in Orion, and let me pause time so it doesn't move when I zoom in. Over here in the sword hanging off of the belt, If you just give it a quick glance, you may think you see three stars here. But if you look a little bit more carefully, you will notice that that middle star is actually not a nice little pinpoint. It's a little fuzzy. That's because it's not a star. That is actually a nebula, or a giant gas cloud in space. This one in particular is called the Orion Nebula because it's in the Orion constellation. And it is what we call a stellar nursery. So this is a gas cloud where stars are being born. Obviously, you won't see this much detail with just your eye. You will see, a faint little smudge in the sky, and you can see it with just your eye. You just have to have dark enough skies to be able to do so. But if you look at it through a telescope, you get to see a bit more of the structure here. It's beautiful. It's one of the few nebula that I think actually look impressive to your eye in a telescope. A lot of others, a lot of the pretty colors you see are enhanced with cameras, and that's not what it actually looks like to your eye, but I think Orion still looks beautiful to your eye without any extra enhancements. So I said this was the birthplace of stars. Basically, to give you an idea of the sense of scale here, you have thousands of solar systems being born in this gas cloud. It is giant. These huge star-forming regions are, in fact, the largest structures that we find in our galaxy. All right, zooming back out here. Let's find a few more constellations up right now. So for our next one, we're actually going to take Orion's belt, and we're going to follow it up. Now this one star is labeled for us in this program, but you'll see this bright red star here, which is a little bit hard to see the rest of the constellation. So let me just turn off the star labels. There we go. You can see that that bright red star is a part of this V in the sky. So this bright red star, you saw the label, this is Aldebaran, and it is part of Taurus the bull. It's actually one of the bull's eyes, so he has this one red glaring eye. So this is his face with his two eyes here, and this is like his snout. His horns go up and out this way, and then his body stretches out around. And so we have Taurus the bull. Looks just like that. All right. Now, within Taurus, let me turn that art back off. If we were to keep following Orion's belt past that V and we continue to go up, we see this little group of stars here. Now, a lot of people mistake this for the Little Dipper because it's very tiny and looks faintly Dipper-ish, but that's not the Little Dipper. It's not even a micro Dipper. This is the Pleiades star cluster. The Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters, is a star cluster found in Taurus. It's named the Seven Sisters because usually in dark skies you can pick out 7 bright stars in the star cluster. But as we zoom in here, you'll see that there are actually quite a few other stars in it. Our eyes are just picking out the very brightest of them. So this is an example of an open cluster. So these have kind of fewer stars and they're more spaced out. Other names for this, if you have a car that is a Subaru, Subaru is actually the Japanese name for the star cluster, and that's why the Subaru logo is stars. It's representing the star cluster here. And it is a very bright, prominent object in the winter sky. You can see it even with a decent amount of light pollution. Like even downtown Duluth, I can pick out the Pleiades in the sky. And because it's so bright and prominent, it shows up in a lot of different cultures. And most cultures associate either 6 or 7 things with it, because you see, depending on, how dark your sky is, your vision, you can see 6 or 7 bright stars in it. One of my favorite stories involves the Pleiades and actually the stars that make up the face of Taurus. These are known as the Hyades. So this story comes from the Mono Native Americans, and it's a group of 7 women who are out just enjoying a stroll through the woods, and they get a little hungry, and so they decide to stop and have a snack when they come across a field of wild onions. After they've eaten their snack, they get up and they start heading home. And they get home, they each go to their individual houses, say hello to their husbands, kiss them hello, and all of the husbands recoil because the wives have stinky onion breath and they don't like that. So the husbands actually kicked all of the wives out of the house. Well, the wives got back together and decided, you know what? We don't need them. And they decided to climb up into the sky where they could live perfectly happy with their stinky onion breath and not have to worry about those pesky men. The story doesn't end there because the husbands realized that they had messed up. They missed their wives and they wanted them back. So this is the wives, and this is the husbands that are now chasing after them, trying to convince them to come back home. All right. I think, oops, let me start time back. There we go. I think we will wrap it there. There are a few other constellations up in the winter that make up part of the winter hexagon, but they're not all up yet. And I need a reason for you guys to come back and see me next month to learn more constellations. So we'll leave that as a teaser for the rest of the winter sky, and we'll do the rest of it in January.
We do got a couple of questions.
Okay.
To start off, in a 10-inch telescope, we can see some color in M42. And it was just asking if we've seen any color and what color that was.
I have not, because I haven't used anything more than I think an 8-inch. So I pretty much just see the shades of gray. But
Yeah.
even with that, like you still see the structure, and it looks really pretty. Like I don't think the Orion Nebula needs all of the colors to look really cool and pretty, which is
That's
why
true.
it's one of my favorites to look at.
This is true. And then the other one was asking if we could see if the Big Dipper is visible from Key West, which is about 24 degrees north, I guess.
Let's.
I will say, I think I put it in the chat. I put a link to Stellarium so you can download it yourself because it's actually a really fun program just to work
Yeah.
out with, and it's just a fun thing to learn and mess
That's
around with.
that's when I paused when I was talking about the Big Dipper. I was like trying in my head to like do the southern US, and it's been a long semester and my brain is not fully functioning. For those who don't know, we are located in a university, and it is the last week of class, so
Oh,
we
most
are
definitely
all on
is.
like running on fumes right now, just
It's
getting through the semester.
it is finals week. It's almost finals week.
Finals week next week. Yeah. So let me show how to do this real quick, since we do have a little bit of time. Like I said, with Stellarium, you can put in any date, time, and location. So you can just pop out the location window and pop yourself down where you want to be. Or we can look it up here in the list. And yeah, Big Dipper, not super visible. Um, yeah. So there you go, because it's right there. So just the tip of the snout of the bear pointing up, and there's the Little Dipper.
Yep. All
So,
right,
like I
that's
said, things look a little bit different in
yes.
different places on the Earth, but that's good reason to try this program out for yourself, so you can see exactly how different your sky looks compared to ours here in Duluth.
And again, it is in the chat there, so feel free to
It's also
go and
linked in the
download it.
video description.
Yep, it is completely free.
Yeah.
And it's really fun.
Oh, the loon. Yeah, I know that the loon makes a specific sound, but like I haven't committed it to memory, so like I don't know that I've ever I don't know. I haven't heard it to a point where I recognize, oh, that's a loon. I need to though. I really do. Okay. Oops. Oh, I hit the wrong. That's the one I wanted. You're like double on the screen there.
All
I
good.
hit the wrong OBS setting.
Oh, I love OBS so much.
Yeah. Okay. So we will do one last round of questions. If you have any, go ahead and put them in the comments. In the meantime, here is our schedule for the week. So for our shows here in person in Duluth on Friday, we are doing Expedition Moons. Saturday at 2 p.m., our family show is Polaris, and 7 p.m. show is From Earth to the Universe. They're both great shows, beautiful on the dome. And then
Very true.
next Wednesday, we will have Ask an Astronomer, excuse me, where we will be here to answer your questions. And next week is our last week of shows for the year because we are taking 2 weeks off for the winter break.
Most
Um,
definitely.
I think we all definitely need it.
I need a break. We do have two questions.
Yeah. Mhm.
What time of year is the Southern Cross an evening constellation?
I don't know because I've never been in a place where I can see it.
And then the other one would be, can we see the Southern Cross from Key West? Which I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can
Again,
Google it.
never been in a position to be able to see them. I'm trying to. But this is, again, something with Solarium. You can actually use the little search, and you could search for Southern Cross, and it would show you where it's at. And then you can figure out if you can see it or not, which is pretty cool.
It's not giving me a time of year. I'm looking it up when you would be able
Yeah,
to see it.
that's okay.
Yeah, I can't find it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Yeah, no, I've never been
Yeah,
that. I've never been very far south, so.
me neither.
So yeah, it's not one I know very well. All right, well, I think we will wrap it up there then. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about our night sky. Like I said, we do this every month, and the constellations we do see do change from month to month. So it's always, slightly different show every month as we look at the new constellations that we can see. All right, I think I'm just double checking everything. Okay. So we'll see you next week, and then we won't see you until next year. Totally
Yep.
using that.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.